Start recording. Alright, so this is game one so far. Knight takes c2 line. All theory blitzed out this one. Knight e4 made Jaraxis think. Rook b3 was an interesting move. Pretty obvious idea, but misses the threat of knight f6. And we're at this point. Huang's thinking it out though. Bishop takes. I wonder what white will do otherwise. Usually the rook to a7. You play king h1 or king g2 to hold on to this diagonal. Nothing super interesting yet. But it is quite the wild position, especially if you consider major pieces. So bishop takes was played anyway, and actually, a move I didn't even consider, taking the queen. The king advances. Looks pretty dangerous here. Is bishop c4 a must to block off king f7? Knight takes d4 was played. Rook takes f6. That's a bad move. Knight takes d4, king f7, bishop d3 attacking the rook, defending their rook. I mean, couldn't you have gone here instantly? I guess there's knight to e6. So that blocks off knight to e6. Do you play rook h6 then? Come into rook h8. That's what's on the board. Maybe king g7 here though instead. And that's what's been played. Right, rook h8, but do you just go knight to g8 immediately? And then you're dropping, rook comes here. After takes back and takes with the knight, it looks completely lost. Yeah, because knight's not gonna be able to do anything. So yeah, rook h6, rook takes h6, the knight takes h6, and it looks like it's over. And black's just gonna take game one. Really tough endgame that Jaraxis put himself in. Not sure if rook takes e7 was the best choice to go there. And seemed to be done with very little calculation, so. But yeah, there's nothing you can do. This knight's completely cut off, and even if it did come here, it's not gonna get you a square that you want it to. You can't block off both of these squares, unfortunately. Your bishop's the wrong color. So yep, Huang's gonna take game one. Not sure why they think so much in losing the first game, just to regroup for the next game. And yeah, it's king f8. Huang takes the lead in game one. And of course, I forgot something again to reset this. OBS is being a little bit frustrating today. Now you should be able to see the clocks. Alright, what line do we have here? Whoa, a very wild line. Huang opening with knight f4, which is actually a losing line for white if you play correctly. Queen e5. This is an interesting choice. Bishop d3 played with the knight reinforcements. Usually that's why you play king b4 first. But I guess you do have king c4 now. King a4 is an interesting move. No. I am... Rook takes d1, taking the free knight, and rook to b8. Does white want to just advance king h4, maybe even king g4 with queen h5, or g5, one of those two options. Knight here on f4 is a little bit annoying right now for white, but other than that, white position is probably better. I mean, you could even just take on c1 either of the two ways. Issue is, do you just have king b5 there? Because only move then is queen h6. And I'm sure it's fine to sack your rook here for the bishop and advance queen h7. And then maybe even rook takes. Then I take c1, do you play king b5? Is the question here you're asking as black. You sack this knight, just completely leave it hanging. And the answer is yes, and I agree. Yeah, there is this diagonal that opens up now, but it shouldn't be too harmful. That is an awful move. Why would you even do that? Here to threaten this, but there's rook to c6 after, even if they left. Heal your move. But yeah, here's gonna disrupt the diagonals, but I don't think you have enough pieces here to work it out. Just queen g7, and Huang's gonna take game 2. That's not a stalemate, buddy. Alright, Huang takes game 2. And bishop d4, another theoretical line. I wonder where the deviation is going to be. If you're Jaraxis, you have to deviate. You can't just play the same line. Bishop f6, all fine stuff. So what are you going to play different after knight g4? Are you also going to play this? Is this where you think that it's fine? So knight f6. And now he's thinking on this move. This is where he's thinking you messed up with queen a8. I didn't think it was a bad move, though. Queen a8. I thought the move here that was bad was rook takes e7 for him. But this line itself just seems very difficult for white to play. Puts you in a very bad position, allowing the king to venture this way. Typically not what you want to do in these lines. Knight f5 is played. Understandable. Now you're holding because you got all these squares cut off. The king actually cannot move at all. It's actually completely cut off, which is rare to see in Racing Kings. So black has to move everything but their king right now. Queen move over to attack the rook. Do you just play rook to g7 at this rate? Attacking the queen. Oh, never mind. White moves so king g3. What do you play here is black? Do you play this, disrupting this piece so that it's under attack by the queen? Even though the bishop's not under attack that rate, you do have this at some point. I thought that was a cute idea, but not what they're going for. Go for knight f2 instead. So just a subtle thing here is that this rook's under all attack as well. So you can't take on f2. So you play rook to g7 here. Queen e8 once again. Now your bishop's hanging, so we're probably going to see rook takes f1 from black. I don't see any other useful move, unless you want to come queen to f8 first. Just attacking the queen. Knight to g4 is an interesting move. Cuts off this rook. So I was saying you wanted to come rook to g7 first, otherwise your rook's in an odd position. Maybe just take and then takes back, and then they take your bishop. But you at least have king to g5 if you want to do that immediately. Probably have to save this knight. So yeah, rook takes f1, threatening this knight. King to g5. What are you doing? Taking the rook doesn't look super bad in this situation, because you have a diagonal. Instead opts for this. But now you're just up a knight. So what? You're gonna try to come knight to d4, and then there's king to d6. Knight to d3 was instead played, but the same idea, king to d6, rook to b7, and you can very much say that this is over already. Rook, and yeah. This doesn't even unfortunately work, because it just takes, and then it's just slower. So Huang's gonna take game 3 here. Yeah, there's nothing you can do to hold on to this one. I mean, if we go back here, maybe there was slide the queen over and then knight there, but that's not gonna work, unfortunately. Alright, heading into game 4 already. The series is going much faster than Maniac versus Reprosad. Alright, bishop symmetry this time, and knight f4, so same line as the first time that they met in game 2. Same line, queen a5. Are we also going to see this? Jaraxis being very unresourceful here against Swang. He's just letting him play the same lines and get winning positions out of the opening. And play king c4 here, and you might have a better fighting chance. Knight e3. Don't see the point of that. You're forcing your king almost to b4. Because c4, and then with the right moves, you're gonna be forced back, and it's gonna be bad for you. Knight just takes the rook. Bishop takes your rook, was under scrutiny there. But yeah, takes the free knight, and now there's nothing really for black. I mean, your rook's hanging. You're gonna lose the knight that way, and then you're gonna lose your bishop. And now it's just gonna be a queen, rook, and knight versus just your queen. Considering the bishop's pinned and you can win it back, that's the most hopeful you can be. Obviously, there's no double diagonal now that the queen's over here, but do you slide this queen h1 again? Probably not, because you're losing your double diagonal. Anyway. Just rook to e2. Makes sense. Gonna come up here. He moves here. Your bishop's unpinned now. And the bishop on d4 is under attack. You have to come here, though. If you take, then you can just come here. And queen to d8 is gonna win on the spot. Even after something like maybe even knight to d5, which would save the queen. Interesting. So he's gonna risk it. So I guess the plan is indeed going to allow king to d7, queen to b8, queen to d8, some sort of knight move. I assume knight to d5 because knight e6 is going to block off your rook. So queen to d8, knight to d5. Oh, it's an interesting intermediate, but now rook to e8. Oh, now you have here. And is the rook coming to c2? After queen to d8. Queen to c8 instead. Now your king can be pinned. Forcing queen to d8, okay. And then rook to c2. Queen to e8. Bishop to f6. Or b6. Probably b6. No, f6 probably better. And then your queen can't drop back. So I assume f6 here. It's slightly better of the two. Ooh, knight to e6 instead. I think still works either way. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe we see queen e7, but I don't think that works. I think white's just going to take game 4 here, so Huang's going to go 4-0. Good endgame technique from him. If we do get a break, this will be a game I analyze, because I do think Jaraxis was able to win in this situation, but wasn't able to do it. So queen f7 being the most useless move you can play here. And now you pin your own queen. But when you go back up, queen g7 is a move. Well, I guess not quite yet after king to d7. Let's slide your rook over, and it's over. If you go here, just queen to g7. And resignation. Huang goes up 4-0 on the series. Knight takes c2. Once again going into the same exact line. And I mean, Huang's making this series look easy against a player who honestly shouldn't be being beaten this easy. But rook 3 to g5, finally changing it up. Considering the time that Huang's taken on this move, maybe this is out of his prep. Rook to b3 doesn't look like a bad move. Maybe even rook takes c2 is fine. So Huang opts for the rook to take c2 option. King g3 is on the board, which should be the only natural response because you don't want rook to b3 at this point. Alright, knight to b3. Opening the attack here. Oh, and king g4, does he just only see that it attacks the bishop? Because yes, you can lose the bishop, but you can't lose your rook and the bishop. In fact, king g4 just seems like a silly move in general. Like you're losing both. At least fight back with something like bishop to f6 at this point. Bishop g2, attacking the knight, but then you're losing your rook. And your knight's gonna fall. Alright, takes back, but then this is no longer a move because it's a trade. But I mean, that doesn't even look bad. Yes, advance. Maybe you play king to f5. Oh. Now, any move to that square looks valuable. Probably not the queen, but yeah, the rook here. And once again, Jaraxis is in trouble. Really, he should take more time to think this through. 2 minutes on the clock. I'm sure you can see that there. That he has all the time in the world to think, but he's not using it. Queen to b8, cutting off these squares to the king. Queen to c7, very sensible move. Honestly, at this point, a resignation wouldn't be too far-fetched. Okay. The idea here is that you sack your queen, but of course, the king advances just perfectly fine. I'm guessing queen to e8 should hold on here, but you're just going to come queen to d7. And maybe you try with bishop h3, but again, you're losing too much here. Yeah, just queen to d7, I guess, allows this. Can't come here, though. But queen to d7, and if the queen comes here, then you do just have knight to c6, and after the bishop takes on c6, king takes c6, queen comes here, and then same pattern with queen to c6, or you can just allow the advance with king to c7. After takes, you're just going to come here. And if you try something like rook to e8, then you're going to take on a8. Bishop pin, you just come here. That seems like it works as a forced rook to g8 either way, but yes, just simple win. Right, Huang's up 5-0, and we might very well see a sweep here. Honestly, was expecting a little bit more of Jaraxis because he's been improving going into the Racing Kings World Championship, but looking at his rating, he was probably not too good at this point. Oh, and Huang's going knight to d4 in the last game. Maybe a little trippy to me, but knight takes f2, the more modern approach to it. Not sure the whole reason behind it. So you do just take here. And it's fine. You can also play this move. And after takes is also completely valid. Alright. And you go into this line and your rook is just misplaced. I don't understand. Rook takes h1 here. Just king h3 first. Rook to g3 now played. King h3 is not available yet, so you have bishop g2 first. Right, knight to e4. Interesting move from Jaraxis. Opens up bishop to f4. Rook f3 is played. And what do you play here is black. Alright, hitting the knight away, but then the knight comes here. Yes, perfectly fine. But, oop. Maybe you play bishop c3 here. If you're black. Okay, accomplishing nothing. Makes sense to me. Alright, and then the knight's gonna come back here, blocking off your diagonal. A completely nonsensical play from black, those last two moves. Like, if you're gonna play a knight move, why not here at this point? King g3, sure, but then at least you have something going for you because you can take the knight back. And now back knight to d4. King a3. In pretty equal position, you go king g3 here, probably. King f4 is probably the next idea for white after king b4. I guess rook e5 to stop king to c5, but king c5 wasn't really a huge threat because you eventually have bishop g2. Alright, the idea is either to come rook to c5 or knight to c5. I assume rook c7, knight to c5. So just king f4. Although your knight's under attack first, maybe you want to deal with that. Maybe you go knight to b3. Possibly even knight to e6. Not really necessary after knight to c5. You're going to get attacked, so knight to b3. Hitting the rook's probably the best way to go here. But then maybe rook c to c6 is a somewhat dangerous move. King f2 is an interesting proposition here from Huang. Defending the knight like this, but are you not just going to see rook to c5, knight to c5, and king e3? Right, this reroute that we've seen before by I make many mistakes in this line. Forget who he played it against, but I believe it was in the RKO. Right, rook to d6, and then this knight is falling. Rook to e4, and yes, Jaraxis should be able to hold on to this one. That's a fine move. Issues king f4, and where's your rook gonna go? Okay, sensible move, but no. Ooh, missed the fork. But now you take, take, take. Yes, there's here. Maybe you had to play rook there. It seems like this is just not gonna work out. That, yeah, black has this one. 5-1. An attempt to win there in fancy style, but ends up losing his sweep. But unless Jaraxis does change his lines here, he's just going to lose this one. Because I feel like he's losing straight from the opening. Alright, knight takes c2, king b3, bishop d4. Same exact lines. Not sure why he just plays knight takes c2 every time. Rook to g6. And it's the same lines. And yeah, we can just literally let them play it out. The same lines. Although, was this the same line that he played last time? Didn't he play rook to g3 first, but then rook 1 to g5 after the queen to e7? Bishop g2, so I guess this is slightly different. Jaraxis here, I don't know if he intended to, but he is playing a different line, but it doesn't look very good for white. This is a double attack. And you don't really have a good counter to it. I wonder in these lines, do you play just rook takes b2 at that point? I mean, bishop takes b2 and then rook takes b2. Whoever this guy, or I'm not sure who is in the chat, but in the game, but he obviously doesn't have a very good sense of raising kings. Makes sense. This is 1800. But no, Jaraxis isn't playing well. Huang's just playing unnecessary. Yeah, Jaraxis is still playing same old Jaraxis. This is king to c5. You can sack your rook at this point. And I guess maybe you can even sack your other rook. That would have been wild. But yeah, going back to here, if you... Oh. And white just resigns. Yeah, honestly, no need to play on. Very poor series from Jaraxis, in my opinion. 6-1, and Huang just takes the win. Pretty easy series. Nothing more to say about that one.